This is Storytellers and Storysellers live on tape. You're listening to Vineet Kanabar on the IVM Podcast Network. We gave this show a little bit of a break for a couple of months. In that time, I gave it some thought about how could we add more value. We've been doing this show for 2 years and some now, which is quite a long time in people's lives. And as we took this break, I thought, hey, we should step out a little bit of our comfort zone, which is the business of entertainment, and talking to writers, directors, actors, musicians, or on the business side, people who work in branded content, people who run entertainment companies, CEOs and founders and stuff like that. And while I thought of moving past our comfort zone, I realized that there is this space that links very closely to entertainment and the business of entertainment in this sort of tech-enabled 21st century. And that space is education. So more and more on this podcast, you will hear leaders, founders, people who are taking the edtech and education space by storm. So we're expanding the ambit of this show a little bit more into the education space. I'm very, very glad to be joined on this first episode with Imbesat Ahmed. He is the founder of FILO. FILO does something very interesting, right? I think FILO was a company that came about during the pandemic, and the idea was connecting students who didn't have access to teachers anymore with teachers who didn't have access to students anymore. That's a damn simple premise. But Imbesat, welcome to the show. We're going to talk to you about FILO in a lot more detail, but why don't you say hi and give us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Hey, first of all, thanks a lot, Vineet, for having me here. Hello, everyone. This is Imbesat Ahmed. You asked quite very difficult questions: where I'm from, what I do, where I belong. Okay, so I'd like to come up with very simple answers. I am from Patna, Bihar, one of the most popular state, I can say, of India. And then I have had like a very normal school upbringing, wanted to become like Shah Rukh Khan, but I knew that my acting was not that
very
good.
Normal. Very normal. Every kid, I wanted to be Shah Rukh Khan, man. Full identify with that. Yeah, absolutely. Bilkul.
Right. And then I realized that who else is very popular in the country. So that then the next number was Sachin Tendulkar. But then I saw my batting in the field, and then I realized that none of this can happen actually. So then that left me with just one option to become decently successful in a typical Bihari middle class family, and that was to become an IITian. So went to IIT Kharagpur, and actually before that, so my home and my school were at two poles apart places of the city, and in mid of it comes the house of district collector of Patna. We call, actually in Patna the terminology is DM, district magistrate. Right. And DM used to be the most famous character among school students because DM can control your school holidays.
Right.
So if Patna is too hot, DM can announce holidays. If Patna is too cold, DM can announce holidays. For us, DM was a hero. Right. And then I used to see that, okay, now people are praying that, okay, if our DM is active or not, people are just aspiring for DM. So after Sachin Tendulkar, a phase came where I wanted to become the DM of city.
Of course. Right.
But again, then I realized my teacher, one of my teachers at Super 30 in Bihar, told me that if you want to explore, don't get into civil services. Mm-hmm. So there I decided, okay, this also option is left. So that left with just that I was left with just one option of becoming an IIT graduate. And yeah, here I am. Now, I think you also asked like what I do. So that's also, now that is a very difficult question, because even today my mom keeps on telling me that I cannot explain to my relatives what my son does. He said like there's no answer.
Kya hai, but kaam kya hai?
Exactly. Like a girl asked me on Instagram that okay, what you are? I said I'm an entrepreneur, and she was like, "Wo sab to theek hai, but what you do?" Mm-hmm. So this is a very difficult question actually. So I have been teaching. I have been teaching since I was just in my school days, mm-hmm. and I have been teaching even after my college days, even during my college days. So it's just that earlier I started teaching with like 1 or 2 kids in my locality. Then I started teaching 50s and hundreds of kids. Then I started taking counseling sessions and big teaching classes of thousands and 1,500 people. Mm-hmm. And today with my company FILO, I'm teaching approximately 2 million students.
Love it. I mean, that's a progression anyone would be proud of, right? That's awesome.
Thank you, man.
Let me ask you this, right? And I love talking to founders who are in the education space. I think a few episodes ago, we had a couple of founders on who were using the power of play, toys, to talk to really early kids, right? Kindergarten, just older, slightly older kids. And now there's you who's also using technology at Philo, and we'll talk about how in a second, to change how teaching is happening in this country, right? I mean, from बहुत ही fundamental question पूछता हूँ मैं आपसे, ये कितना change और करना है teaching को in this country? How big of a challenge is it? And what is the vision that you have? Sure, Philo is one thing that you've put together, but as a teacher, even before Philo, and I want to start there, how do you think teaching gets fixed, gets a better stature, better status, better infrastructure in this country? What do you think? Where do you think we can take this?
The question you have asked has actually got multiverse, and I would try to cover as many verses as I have concluded with my limited experience.
No, and I'd love for you to tell me from your experience with examples or with incidents
absolutely.
or events. That would be the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So first of all, in India, there was no innovation in teaching. Like in agriculture, we had a revolution. In medicine, we had a revolution. Do you remember any revolution in education?
No.
There has been none.
There is a counter revolution where people are taking stuff out of textbooks.
Yes. We have simply copy pasted British era, you can say, scripts, and just we are continuing on that. So there has been never a revolution in education. And I'll give you simple examples. First of all, in our country, teachers are said that they are God. But if there is a teacher of a private school, 27, 28 years of age, really finds very difficult to convince a father of a girl that I want to marry your girl, because father says that, man, you are a teacher in a private school. I don't see a very bright future. And that person who himself is not being accepted as a human being is supposed to teach hundreds and thousands of kids. So ultimately, teaching is very simple. There is a learner and there is a teacher or tutor or expert. And then there is a conversation piece. Now here, we have students, we have learners. Indians are very aspirational. Like we are one of the most aspirational people on the globe, I can say. If you compare with China or with Korea, even with America. In fact, we are more aspirational. But the two other pieces of learning, which includes teacher and conversation, both are broken.
Right.
Because teachers, like if you just go back to your school days and try to remember your gang of your boys and girls of your class, did any one of them used to say that, hey, I want to become a teacher?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I am the son of a teacher. I come from a family of teachers. Nobody in my family wants to be a teacher. And I would like to think that all the teachers in my family are like really good teachers, right? I get all my values and lessons and everything from them. But yeah, you're right. None of us wanted to be teachers, right? I'm a teacher on the side is how I would take it.
So as a profession, which is supposed to take the load of the whole education system, because your education minister is not going to go into the class. Your secretary education is not going to get into the class. Not even your district education officers, not even the principal. It's ultimately a teacher. The final set of responsibility comes on a teacher. And this is one of the least aspirational profession in the country, which is supposed to create the most aspirational people, that is the youth of the country. So there is a complete black and white, like there is no synergy at all.
Absolutely.
So that is the one piece, which is like a grave problem for us. Right. We have to start putting teachers on a high pedestal. We have to start treating teachers like investment bankers or McKinsey consultants, because then someone is smart in the group will try to become a teacher, right?
Amazing. Yeah, I agree.
The second is the conversation piece. The conversation is key in any learning process. It has gone. Today, teaching in a class or a stand-up comedy, there is hardly any difference.
Absolutely.
It's all one way. बीच में जब मौका मिलता है, कभी अगर कोई audience में जैसे like top of the stand-up comedians, they try to make fun, try to take out humor from the audience. उतना ही class में भी होता है. Now, again, I can take you back to your school days. Like on day one of any academic session, you used to be very energetic with all your batchmates. Try to remember 3 months down the line period, 5 months down the line period. Each one of us were used to look at our watches, if had been lucky enough to have a watch on our hand, that bell kab lagegi. Because we as the students were never brought into the conversation with the teacher. We are always running away from teacher. So दोनों fundamental piece हमारे यहाँ बिल्कुल broken है. So here we have examination system. They're IIT, one of the most competitive exam, UPSC, most competitive exam, CAT, most competitive exam. But nobody is asking about, do we have the best of the courses? Do we have the best of the learning programs? We don't have. We have great authors, we have great books, but ultimately we have collected the best of the data. But nobody is thinking that all of this data will be stored in the hard drive, or earlier it was simply a book. but somebody really need to get down to a student level to help him or her process that data. हम ज्ञान तो दे सकते हैं दुनिया भर का, लेकिन someone really need to digest that gyan. That piece is totally gone, totally missing. It's very linear.
Let me ask you this. This just brings a question to my mind, right? You hit upon a couple of things that are really very close to my heart, right? Both these things, the stature of teachers and the pedagogy of teaching as well, right? Or the nature of teaching that we have come to expect. Before we jump into talking about philo, whole hog, compare and contrast for me. And again, you're very privileged and very fortunate, and I'm sure very hardworking to have been exposed to some great teaching, I think, at Super 30 as well as at IIT, right? You said we have created the most competitive exams, but may not have created the most competent courses possibly, or we may not have been able to provide the kind of classroom environment in a lot of places which caters to the needs of the future leaders of the country, right? Both these places, both Super 30 and IIT. I'm sure there is a secret sauce here which enables the creation of, I would say, Fortune 500 leaders by the dozen, right? क्या ऐसा interesting है या क्या ऐसा difference है in these places, in your experience? Or is there such a difference? Or is it just the environment that you put enough smart people in the same room and they will benefit each other? How do you take that? What lessons do you take from there?
Both the things. Actually, there is a difference. And actually what you said, that you bring the best of the people in a room and the difference starts happening. So to get into Super 30, there are going to be 10 to 20,000 applicants and there are 30 seats.
Right.
So this actually the answer comes from a step behind.
Sure.
Who gets into Super 30 and who gets into IIT?
Right.
The smartest of the people in a normal classroom. India education system and IIT education system are two very different things. IIT education system serves 5,000 people a year. In India education system, there are millions. So difference is very simple, that the whole education system is pretty linear. It assumes that whatever information is being delivered in the class, everyone absorbs it and everyone has learned it and everyone will move on.
Right.
And it does not happen.
Right.
Only the top 1, 2, 3% gets to absorb it because they have a certain level of intellect, or you can say IQ, God gifted, whatever.
Or attention span. I mean, it might even not just be just attention span, right? वो बैठा एक घंटा सुनने किसी की बात.
वो सुन सकता है, has a capacity to sit on a chair for 3 hours, for 6 hours. These are the people who get into Super 30. And again, these are the people who get into IITs or IIMs. So वहाँ पर it's no more education transfer from teacher. आप Super 30 में छोड़ दीजिए, teacher हटा दीजिए, still people will get into IIT.
Right.
Because वहाँ पर they are learning just from one another. There is no need for a typical classroom.
Mm-hmm.
In IITs, if you say that, I can simply tell you that 90% of IIT learning happen in our hostels, in our halls of residence. Because you have brought the best of the minds of the country. Mm-hmm. Even if they are having Maggie or a cup of tea at 2 a.m. in the canteen, they are basically discussing about some of the pressing problems, some of the ideas which can disrupt n number of industries in next coming up years. Or even if they are discussing, let's say, the politics, they are discussing it with all the angles which can cover. So the learning happens there in hostels. Similarly, in Super 30 time, we used to have classes. One of my maths class used to start somewhere around midnight because teacher has to come from Gaya to Patna, and then the class goes up to almost 5 in the morning.
Right.
And me as a student, I had a habit of sleeping early and waking up early. For me, it was very difficult. So I was like almost dozing off in the class. And then the teacher asked me one simple thing, that, hey, Imbesat, right now, if your attention is not so good in class, just imagine that at least 50,000 odd students out there are preparing for IIT, and you are letting them take a lead on you.
Mm-hmm.
And this statement popped up my eyes. And then I was like, almost like a statue. But then me or my friends at Super 30 or the teacher, we are not the representation of Indian education system.
Right.
We are just a bunch of, you can say, relatively smart people with relatively better IQ, and we are doing something in corner of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think about education about rest of my 50 students, 50 friends in my class 11th or class 12th in my school. So they had the issue that they were not confident enough even to speak to the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Because back from class 1, they were not told that, hey, you can always ask your teacher. And if you cannot ask, you cannot learn. And again, that brings back to that conversation thing. So So in IITs, students are so confident that they can go and disturb the professor at any point of time. And professors allow them because professors know that they are smart people. So it's almost like a corporate discussion.
Right. It's a value exchange.
Yeah, exactly. It's a value exchange. So it's all very transactional.
Right. But again, that transactional conversation is also part of the culture and pedagogy of learning, which brings us to what FILO does, right? You're able to connect students who are studying at home and may need some assistance, some guidance over, could be just a maths problem, could be a concept, could be whatever. And within 60 seconds, they can use the FILO app and they can reach out to another teacher or a tutor who will answer their call over video call. They can have a conversation where the child can, or the student can ask their doubts and the teacher will spend time answering them. Did I describe it all right?
Like 90% right, yeah.
Yeah, you fill me in on the other 10%.
Okay, so here is the thing that the student can ask literally anything, not just a doubt. The student can say that, hey man, I'm not able to understand what real number is.
Right.
So I think, see, the reason why you use the word doubt, because somehow it has been injected in your mind that learning is all about if you're solving a problem and a numerical and there is something at you are stuck.
Right.
We have to understand that only 5% or even less number of students, less percentage of students actually end up doing numericals.
Right.
The first 50% are even juggling just with or hustling just with the class notes. They are about getting into numericals. For them, just to make sure that the 3 pages which were written in my class note today, am I able to digest it? So at FILO, we are helping people who are struggling to pass the exam, people who want to move their percentage from 50 to 60, and then people who are currently at 90 and they want to ace gold medal in physics Olympiad representing India.
Mm-hmm.
And it cannot be done with just like one solution for many or one size fit for all.
Right.
So here you can literally learn anything. You can simply take a screenshot of your class note and dump it there and ask someone that, hey man, though I have noted it down, but I was not in the mood in the class. I don't understand what my teacher was telling in the class. Can you just talk me through and help me understand? So here we are talking about the learning like in actual learning where you can confident enough to speak with the other person, confident enough that you can ask the other person that, hey man, teach at my speed, teach in the language I understand, teach the way in which I am comfortable. Because one single question or one single statement, if being, let's say, explained by one teacher, can have 10 different ways of explanation depending who are the students on the other end. The student can be, let's say, a DPS, someone studying in schools like in top-notch schools of Mumbai or Delhi, or someone, let's say, studying in Kendriya Vidyalaya Kanpur, or someone, let's say, studying in any higher secondary, Rajya Uच्च Vidyalaya, Kanya Uच्च Vidyalaya, Madhyamik Vidyalaya, in let's say, villages of Bihar or anywhere in the country. Now, the starting point of explanation and the language in the explanation will be very different for all these different categories of students. So this is where we are doing the engineering, that we are trying to build the explanation in the way someone can understand, not just a white framed one, that ab tum jo bhi ho, yahi se seekhna hai. So that is something which we want to change.
I love it, dude. I think, and our good friend Shailendra told me about FILO when he was joining you as well. I think the promise of this product, both for the student and for the teacher as well, right, is just fabulous. I think, and I'm sure in the life cycle of your product, there are many things that you want to go right for the company to scale. I'm sure there's a revenue metric and I'm sure there's an MAU metric, but the promise of the product and the way you described it is just marvelous and super impressive. And I must congratulate you on that. Let me ask you this before we go into our break. You started this in October 2020, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, well, like officially we started December 2020, but yeah, sure. The code writing and those things, yeah.
Sure. And in the 1.5 years that FILO has been around, you've scaled pretty quickly, right? I want to understand what were the teacher side challenges of implementing this kind of a product at their end, right? And here's what's in my head, and you can maybe tell me where it was most challenging for you, right? A lot of teachers in India, and I'm not just talking about tutors, I'm talking about school teachers as well, they're teaching around their day. My mom was a teacher. She had to go to school in the morning after she got me ready for school. Then she had to sit back home and correct papers. while she was also making sure I was doing my homework and my sister was also studying, right? She would then also get calls from her parents, student ke parents who had concerns. A teacher's life is very full. A teacher's life isn't that half an hour of classroom teaching or 40 minutes of a period that they have to teach, right? Teacher's life is so full, right? It is a social position. It has so much importance. Teacher ne bola hai is such a big, meaningful word. I want to ask you then, when you went out there with this product, what were the challenges on the teacher side? How did they welcome your product? What was the impact on that front when you were onboarding folks?
Yeah, so I got the benefit of being a teacher myself. The first set of 5 tutors were basically my students currently in different IITs.
Right.
Whom I've taught at my first venture Rise.
Mm-hmm.
The second set of around 20-25 were again my students who were in IITs and NITs.
Mm-hmm.
So I utilized their break time. I said that, guys, I have been into engineering college. I know how much you guys attend classes or how much you guys take education seriously. Now here's an opportunity for you all to write something interesting in your resume where you will be actually helping quite a good number of kids and carving your communication skills, smoothing your some interpersonal soft skills, and of course, helping others has always has a good karma, and that thing worked. So basically, for our first set of around 3,000 to 4,000 tutors were all engineering college grads, and then grads from Delhi University, Bombay University.
Super smart, yeah. What a strategy! Brilliant.
Then came a difficulty of this smart strategy, because these guys, it's not their bread and butter.
Correct.
Sometimes they have to go party, sometimes they have to give a gift to their prospective girlfriend or something like that, and they will be like live 10 hours a day, but again they can be totally off for the next weekend. So there was a lot of discontinuity. So then we realized that now this magic won't work. Actually, we need to have professionally groomed tutors where even parents can show more confidence. Of course, like we had very smart people because we were selecting only from the best of the colleges. So then how we entered is that we started focusing on very core groups of teachers, and then we showed them that, hey, here is an opportunity, sir, that where you don't have to travel much. Second, you will only get the students you want to teach, the type of students you want to teach. And third, you can also decide that, hey, I don't want to teach this kid, I want to teach this kid, because there are so many kids. And fourth onwards, you don't have to market yourself anymore now, because if you go online on FILO, you automatically hundreds of kids will come and say hello to you over a single period of 24 hours. So they were like, this is awesome. So I knew that teacher's life is very full, but there are some vacancies in between. And our pitch to tutors were basically just to fill those vacancies, because we took out their unnecessary travel hours.
Right.
And it just got picked up, because then these tutors, and then we moved to even professionals, people, let's say, who are bank managers. Of course, if you can count money, you can count class 9th real number as well.
Absolutely.
Then we got people who are preparing for, let's say, different government job exams. So then it percolated even in people who are pursuing PhDs, because they have some time. So now it's combination of all. Now it's combination of professionally groomed tutors. It's combination of actually some professionals undergoing PhD people, and of course some college undergrads as well. So today we are really not spending a single dollar on acquiring teachers. Not a single dollar.
Wow.
We get thousands of applications every day, and our selection percentage is almost under 2%.
Wow.
So it's like how I say it, that technically after government, we are the biggest pool of tutors in the country in almost no time.
That's amazing. And it sounds like you're feeding into the challenges of being a teacher and trying to solve those. You're activating people who are, सब में एक टीचर तो होता ही है, कहीं ना कहीं छुपा हुआ, right?
Of course.
और उसको भी आप ढूंढ के निकाल रहे हो, and there is an alternate earning source that you are creating. And obviously the breadth of teachers that you have should only cater to the breadth of students that you are aiming to get onto the platform. I think there's a wonderful story here, and there's a wonderful product that you're building. I want to talk to you more about the student side of things, how you're planning to grow, but we'll do all of that after this break. Don't go anywhere. This is a fascinating conversation with Imbesat Ahmed from FILO. This is Vineet Kanabar. Be right back after these messages. And we're back on Storytellers and Storysellers. I'm Vineet Kanabar. You're listening to me talk to Imbesat Ahmed from FILO. Before the break, we had this wonderful conversation about how Imbesat and the team at FILO are putting together a product that is helping connect students to teachers. I want to ask Imbesat about the student side now. We talked about the teachers before the break. Often what happens is that when a product is getting made in Bangalore or wherever else, for a guy sitting in Bihar, there is a difference in what is envisioned and what is delivered. Now, as someone who has experience of both Bihar and Bangalore, I think you are someone who's best placed to answer this question. But what were some of the unforeseen challenges that you saw while you were building this product for the student side? I know that connectivity is a huge problem in India. Language is a huge problem in India. But what else? And maybe you can include your notes on these as well. But what were some of the most interesting unforeseen challenges, some of them which you probably have solved, some I think which you're solving for the long term?
So yeah, like there were some challenges which I had anticipated, and then of course some were not. So the first set of challenge was that nobody believed it.
Right.
People felt it's a prank. That's like the first challenge. Someone actually got used to connected. People used to get afraid. It's like, let's say you are testing a Zoom call and all of a sudden the camera switches on. Then you feel a little shaky, right? Whether is my shirt properly? Yeah, pretty uncertain. So that was the situation among the students. And even with the tutors, I can say for a certain bit, despite some of our initial training for the tutors as well. So first thing we had to do was we had to start educating students that, okay, it's not a prank. So thankfully, Education Ministry, Government of India, they tweeted about us. So thankfully that added little more credibility. Then happened the next set of problem, which I had clearly anticipated. That was that, hey, if I'm a student and I got connected to a teacher, Vineet, and I really liked you in the 5 to 6 minutes of sessions, because you really helped me think something which was disturbing me maybe for last 7 days. So for me, you are a masiha.
Right.
Now, our system was that we were connecting students to tutors based on our model. Now, next time, what I will do is every time I'll ask a question, I will write Vineet sir only. If anyone else picks my request, I will give you negative rating.
Right.
Don't dare to pick my session if you are not Rahul sir from Delhi.
Wow. So and that's like in the marketplace model, that's an artificial weightage. Some people are not getting any and some are overbooked. That's a very interesting problem.
Yes. So that was a very interesting problem. And I literally remember that almost in Jan 2021, I had to sit down myself and I must have sent some around 2,500, 2,600 emails, because then we did not have all those CRMs and all those automations. So I literally had to check out who are these people, and I literally had to send them a personal mail that, dude, give us some time. We will find you the right tutor, but bear with us. Don't start with these statements, because the problem was that if a new teacher was coming into the system, every request he was getting was marked to someone else's name. And he was like, why on earth you have invited me?
Right.
As a teacher on the platform. So it was very difficult for the incoming teachers in the platform. Then came of course, something very much expected, that if I have a daughter or I have a sibling at home and I used to spend some of my evening time teaching her or him, now I was like, why don't you connect with me on FILO and let's both of us, brother, sister, will have a long conversation on FILO. So just for teaching my own kid, my own sibling, someone else is paying.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
So now
Indians will just figure shit out, man. किसी भी चीज में hack लगा लेंगे ना लोग. Amazing.
That's India. That's India, bro. I told you, like, India is very aspirational.
Right. It's beautiful, man.
So then it was like a heck of a task for me. And I was typically like, it was just me, Shadman, Rohit, my other co-founder, joined us in March 2021. And he really saved like my life. So because before that, I had to take classes also. And then I have to manage all these difficulties, because I had kept the whole bandwidth for Shadman that, bro, you just code. We need to go very, very fast like rocket. You just code. I'll manage all of these wonderful things happening around. So these things were pretty interesting. Now then the request was coming that, okay, I want this type of teacher. Now I want teacher who can teach me physics in Bangla.
Right.
Now I want I study late night, I want to teach a late night. I study in morning, I want to teach a morning.
Mm-hmm.
Then we started getting requests that, hey, tomorrow is my exam. Can you help me pass? Can you get me a teacher who can sit with me for 6 hours, not just for like quick 5 to 6 minute session, and just help me pass my exam? I'll pay you whatever you want.
Right.
So these interesting problems started happening. And yeah, every problem was a big learning opportunity for us. And then we started doing all the engineerings around it. So initially I thought that, okay, our product is ready. We are already connecting people.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, I knew that when you get into the details, then only the devil appears. But thankfully, we overcame all of them. And we still find
fantastic
new problem, but yeah, that's okay.
Of course. Like you said, India is very aspirational, and with aspirations come problems. It's amazing the kind of stuff that you've just told me, right? मतलब ये वाला जुगाड़ तो अलग ही लेवल है यार. अपने ही घर को मैं ट्यूटर बन जाता हूँ, बहन को बुलाता हूँ, वो हम उस पे बात करेंगे, पढ़ लिख लेंगे, पैसे भी मिल जाएंगे. पॉकेट मनी का पॉकेट मनी, पढ़ाई की पढ़ाई. Beautiful. And I'm glad you shared this with us, because I'm sure there are more of these coming your way, and I'd love to know about more of them. Let me ask you this very startup podcast question, but I'll ask it anyway. At what stage did you feel that, I know you said you're not spending anything on teacher acquisition anymore. At what stage did something like a product market fit start hitting you, where you're like, boss, what we're building here is really working. We need to scale this and start building it. At what stage in your journey? And I know it's a very short time as well, right? In company years, it's a year and a half. Of course, there have been a lot of companies that have scaled during the pandemic, but how has your journey in that space been like?
So there have been multiple instances. Like for me, so when I was speaking to my first set of investor, because it's a typical startup podcast, so I will try to answer it in a startup way. So Better Capital is our first investor, Vaibhav Domkundwar. One of the thing I can say that he's definitely one of the gods in angel investing currently in India. So when I was conversating with him, so he gave me a yes in just one call. But then I thought that what may he can give some calls to our students, and he can do some cross checking. So I simply did one thing. I picked up my phone and I called around 10-12 kids, and I told them that, hey, FILO is going to be shut down. We are shutting down FILO. Does it affect you? And kids and the parents were like, who the dash are you? We will come and we will come to you and we will learn to you. Why do you want to shut down this app? Like, what is the reason behind it? How dare can you do this? And I was like, done. Then let Vaibhav call anyone Vaibhav wants to. So that was like my first instinct of finding the product market fit.
Wonderful.
And then post that, so globally, in any of these marketplaces, the standard review number is not even up to 4, where rating on App Store along with reviews is not even up to 4.
Right.
In our case, it is already 4.6.
Right.
So from very beginning, with the reviews we were getting, we were pretty confident that, yeah, we are solving a real learning problem.
Right.
And since I used to initially I was taking sessions almost like 10 to 12 hours a day for the first 4, 5, 6 months approximately. And with those sessions, I was getting the confidence myself, because the kind of questions they were coming, the kind of variety they were coming, I was saying that, yeah, we are actually solving a real problem. All the economics and all of those things, of course, have to be sorted, but people are using us. And people are using us, even if someone is using us just for once a month. But that one moment is pretty shit scary for that one student. And we are there in that moment. So yeah, we are solving some real problem.
I love it, dude. That's just the more I hear you talk about this, the more I'm like, man, you guys are building something special here. Before I head into like my last question or so, I want to ask you a backward looking question, right? Something that's about your person. Your teaching journey started, I'm told, my producer Saurabh, who is very kind to always put these things together for me, started in the Kashmir Valley. From there to here, that's where you're trying to go with this thing, right? You talked about a revolution in education. There is such a diverse background that you've got here. Tell us where you're going with this and what you're finally going to build out of this.
So actually, my teaching passion started from Bihar, but yeah, my teaching career, you can say, started from Kashmir. So it starts this way. The moment I cleared JEE, I in fact not even cleared JEE. The day I took my JEE exam, the very next day, I was told by Abhyanand sir, he is basically ex-DGP of Bihar, and he was heading the whole Suba 30 center in which I was enrolled. And he said that, hey, Imbesat, why don't you come from tomorrow and start taking classes? So before getting into IIT, I started teaching.
Right.
And then every year was something very aspirational for me. So what I did after the end of my first year, that I conducted 2 very large workshops in Patna, just on the awareness side of it. Awareness side of, you can say, in general, counseling and general preparation.
Mm-hmm.
The second year of my college, I spent almost a month in the remotest areas of Bihar, Aurangabad, Rohtas, Kaimur, Gaya. And I took a team of around 18 to 20 folks from first and second year of IIT Kharagpur. And we spent almost a month there. And then we came back with a proper report and handed it over to the minister. I knew that nothing would happen from that report, but at least I was happy that whatever little we knew, we handed it over to the kids over there whom we have met. And I used to keep on telling them that boys and girls, if you want to explore the world, nobody from US is going to come to you. You yourself have to do it. Then, apart from spending a month in Bihar, what I did that I spent 4 days in Kashmir. So someone told me that there is some education related issue in Kashmir. Why don't you go and explore? I was like, dude, I'm no expert. I'm just a college kid, but still, let's give it a try. So when I went there I realized that there's a bigger elephant in the room with the types of questions people asked me in the seminar which we conducted. We conducted like 2 days of seminar in Srinagar and Shofian. And then it struck me that I should definitely spend more time here. Then again comes third year of my college. I had 2 internship opportunities in top leading management consulting firms in the country. Then I realized that no, something else is more compelling. So with 2 of my friends, I spent the entire 2 months of my college summer break in Kashmir. And that resulted in around 10 selections in JEE that year. And the guy who topped the state level board exam was basically our student, and he got into BITS Pilani, and today he's working as a senior software developer in Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So being a college kid, when I started realizing that what I'm actually doing is creating a state level news, a state level impact, it means I'm doing something right. So then the next year I had to go to for a compulsory internship because we had credits in college. So that year I spent in Canada, got again PhD offer from there. And even my professor back home was telling me that okay, you should go for it. But then I realized that, okay, if I don't take this opportunity, somebody maybe even better than me will take it, and no void on earth will be there just because Imbesat Ahmed did not pursue PhD from a particular top end laboratory in Canada. Someone definitely smarter than me will go and replace and take that place.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment of time, I realized that if I don't go back to Kashmir, then maybe these set of students who are looking, that because I used to get messages from parents from a student that, hey sir, now I have completed my class 9, now I've completed my class 10. We have heard that you have promised some people that you are going to come back to Kashmir post your college. So we just want you to come back. So I had to sit for placement because all of my friends were sitting, and I have to let my parent know that okay, aapke bete ne life mein kuch to kiya hai, so that they can even tell their friends and relatives that finally मेरे बेटे के पास एक जॉब है, हो गया. So I did that. फिर मैं एक दो स्टेप और आगे चला गया. I applied a couple of places in off campus just to send those offer letters to my mom. But I knew that I'm going to go back to Kashmir. So in 2015, when I graduated finally, then I just went back there, and then I started solving because now I had time, now I had more space. So then I realized that the problem in Kashmir was not that nobody wanted to learn. It's just that nobody knew what to learn and what to learn for, because they did not have relatable role models in their society, in their community. They didn't even know that what would happen if they cracked IIT. They didn't even know what would happen if they crack CPT, or what would happen if they actually crack some top-end law entrance exam, because they just were not aware of it. So what I've seen again is like, if let's say there's a laborer who normally earns 100 rupees a day and one day earns, let's say, 130 rupees. And the owner of that site tells the laborer that, hey, today you earned 130 rupees. You see, there is so much of growth and success in this career. Keep on working hard. Tomorrow you may earn 140, and the day after tomorrow you may earn 150. So for the laborer's eyesight and for the laborer's perspective, that's prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I both know that's basically keeping the world away from that labor and not showing the real face. So what I've learned firsthand, that for folks like us, education is only tool which can actually show the real prosperity,
Right.
the real growth in life. Because some of my friends, their parents were basically either, some of my friends' parents were like auto drivers, their moms were working as maids in different homes. And today those dudes are sitting in top investment banks, top, you can say, management consulting firms, at top-notch
Right.
places across the globe. So had, again, someone told them that, okay, you can earn from 100 to 120, they would not have seen the real progress.
Mhm.
So that problem is there. And that is the thing which hurts the most to me as a person, that I will never get to know what exactly it's sitting for me unless I'm myself passionate enough to push myself so hard that I can see beyond the clouds. And now that I have seen a little bit, why not take up some, some more folks around me? Because when you have more hands, the ladder can be bigger.
Right.
So even the higher clouds and the higher mountains can be aced. So that
Love
was
it,
the thought
man.
in Kashmir. That was the thought in Kashmir, that let's show what's actually sitting behind the mountains to these smarter of the folks. Literally in Kashmir, I met smarter of the folks. They just didn't have the right guidance. So I spent like almost 4.5, 5 years of my life from 2015 to 2020 exploring the territory and giving them the playbook that, hey, through this, you can achieve this. And now if there is a kid in Kashmir, can actually don't have to like surf much on Google, rather can simply look around and say that, okay, 5 home down my lane is a guy who currently is studying in Stanford, and I read his blogs. I can be one of like him.
Right.
So now he is very relatable. Actually, it reminds me of an incident. So in 2015, when I met a principal there, he told me point blank that, dude, you are a fraud. I was like, why? He's like, you claim that you are from IIT, but you are from Bihar and you're working in Kashmir. Who does that? I was like, sir, with due respect, I'm 23 and I'm single. And you give me a maths problem, I can solve it in a year. That's proof that I'm an IITian.
Wonderful. I think I'm hoping there are many IITians who are listening to this and relating very hard, but that's a great way to put it, man. Let me ask you the second part of the question that I asked you, the last question that I want to ask you about. Where are you going with this, right? I think clearly you've got a good thing going. You've got a great product. You're building a wonderful team. You've got some great investors backing you. You've got both the teachers and the student community seeing great value in this product. But talking to you, I feel like this is a part of the problem that you're solving. So I want to ask you two questions in one. What next? I mean, where do you see FILO going, and what next for you? Like the revolution in teaching that you talked about has so many other parts. Are there other problems in your mind that you're looking to solve with your team?
So again, you asked a very difficult question actually.
Yeah, no easy questions on this. This is IIT mains ke baad second. IIT mains?
IIT advance, J advance.
Correct.
Right. Okay, yeah. So there are again multi layers of problems.
Mm-hmm.
So we feel that we have just scratched the surface.
Right.
We have just scratched the surface. I don't know if in my lifetime will I be able to actually witness the revolution in education system in Indian industry. But I would really love that if an Indian startup, and of course I would love it 100x max if it is FILO that brings that revolution, and that a piece of that revolution. See, I'm no one to actually define a revolution for a country which has got a billion plus population. A revolution is basically, to me, is the North Star of maybe millions of smart people or millions of educated people or at least millions of open-minded people. And that culmination is the revolution. For me, it's that if the education inequality is being taken care of, where we remove the factors like fear from education, we bring back the factor like confidence in education, where one day in a normal school, which has got, let's say, 500 students, if 499 out of 500 students, when they wake up in morning, they are not afraid of going to school that particular day. Or when they go to sleep, they are not sleeping with academic stress in their mind. Life has got already so much of stress. Maybe their parents might be fighting with each other. They might have a big fight with their siblings. His elder brother might have lost a job. Parents are not able to find a match for his sister. Already all of these stress is there. And then comes at the top of it that the maths problem in front of him he's not able to solve that. So that poor kid should not go to sleep with academic stress. And when you wake up with full confidence. And these two things are basically the same. and will happen only when we remove the education inequality. So I'll give you an example. Let's say today you want to get into IM. For that, you really need to be wicked smart in maths and really sharp in English. Who do you think will actually be able to crack that exam? Do you think a guy going to a typical government school all of a sudden will become so smart that can understand those lengthy paragraph and come up with the right answer? It's a habit.
It's difficult. It's possible, but I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So from the get go, education is being just for a handful of people. So this education inequality, once broken, and where we have a teacher is so well, you can say, groomed or upgraded or skilled, that a teacher knows that if I have got 50 students in my class whose learning habits are, let's say, belonging to 10 different learning habits, then I'm so skilled as a teacher, then I can come up with 10 different set of solutions for one problem, where I don't need to just copy paste one answer to all of them. That, according to me, is going to be a big revolution. That's like one of my stories of revolution for Indian in general in education. So where FILO is going is that we feel that like 99% of this world population can be helped by at least 1% of the rest. It is just that you don't know who is the right helper for you. FILO can become a verb for a human help, just like you Google. So no matter what I want to learn, I know that at least there is one person on this globe who can help me learn that.
Why is it called FILO though?
FILO, from, let's say if you are in trouble, whom do you approach first?
I mean, these days my wife, but yeah.
So let's say before marriage?
Oh, before marriage. I mean, I don't know, my father, I guess. My best friend or my father, one of those guys.
Friend?
Yeah.
Even if you go to your father only when father is very friendly. If father is like a typical Bollywood father.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that depends on the problem, but yes.
In general, especially when you have done
friends, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So FILO is a Greek word which means friend.
Right.
Okay. And the reason of choosing a Greek word was because for the 5 years of my life in IIT Kharagpur, I was writing more Greek in my class notes than English.
Right.
Because it always becomes from alpha, beta, gamma.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the Greek letters used to get over and we used to start writing alpha dash and beta dash.
Right. So सब कुछ यूज कर लेते हैं ना इंजीनियरिंग में, न्यू स्यू सब कुछ यूज कर लेते हैं, ओमिक्रॉन भी होता है कहीं कहीं मेरे ख्याल से. हाँ,
बहुत कुछ होता है. या एब्सोल्युटली, क्योंकि उसके ऊपर हम वो हाई एनर्जी फिजिक्स में पार्टिकल के नाम रखते हैं सारे. तो या
बिल्कुल.
So finding so it was actually, I was pretty lucky to actually find a word in one of my favorite languages, I can say. Credits to my physics course of college. But yeah, so here that the whole story is that when you look for a help and when you look for a genuine help, where you're not afraid to tell anyone that, okay, I don't know this. It's very difficult that people accept it, that, okay, I don't know this, help me out. And you become that honest only with your friend. So that's why the name FILO came in. Yeah, so basically FILO is one of my favorite languages because of credits to my college and the course which I had in college, the 5 years of physics at IIT Kharagpur. And the reason of finding a word like friend, and that's why we brought in FILO, because it's very difficult for any individual to accept that, okay, I don't know something because of the taboo in the society. Not knowing something is almost treated like a crime. Like, oh my God, how do you don't know this? How do you don't know that? You are being judged. So FILO is a platform where you can go and blatantly say that, dude, I don't know this. Help me out. And you can only tell with this much of honesty to a friend.
Right.
So actually the FILO word, people really ask that for whom this FILO word is. FILO is actually the word for our tutors.
Right.
So we say that there is one smart tutor or a normal tutor or maybe a little smart tutor. Then there is a great lecturer. And then when you add your academic excellence to a layer of emotion and some real good strategy, like the typical friend wali strategy, then you become a FILO.
Love it. Love it. It reminds me of Kaun Banega Crorepati, where one of
Okay.
your lifelines is phone a friend,
Yeah.
which should probably now be called phone a FILO, which is interesting. Have I given you
Absolutely.
a branded content idea?
Yeah. Absolutely. I can send you a check for this when I have some more money.
Man, Imbesat, this has been a fabulous conversation. I think my instinct to have you on and for us to go beyond what we usually talk about on this show was spot on, man. It's a fantastic conversation. I think I love what you guys are doing. I think hearing you talk about how you arrived at this being the problem to solve, the fact that it is something that you've thought so deeply about, the fact that you still are in touch with your both your consumer and your supplier and understand them so well, can only speak volumes about the kind of company that you're trying to build here. Thank you so much for taking time out and doing this. I know we'd been planning to do this since before I took this break, but I'm so glad that we finally had the chance to talk. I'm sure my listeners will enjoy this conversation a lot. I hope you had fun, man.
I must say that, man, this has been really one of the best conversation in my recent memory, for sure. Because people typically ask me like, okay, what is your DAW and what is your MAW? I'm fed up with those questions. You rightly pointed out. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. It was really, really lovely, beautiful speaking with you.
Great. Glad to have you on board. Shout out to Shailendra Patil for making this happen. That's it.
Absolutely.
That was our chat with Imbesat Ahmed, co-founder at FILO. Go check out FILO if you have someone who you think needs some help with anything that they're either studying or struggling with. I think FILO could be one of the places where they could find a solution to it. But like I said, that's it. This is our episode. Shout out to Saurav. Shout out to Saurav Sharma and the team at IIVM who helped me put this show together. We'll be back next week with more interesting conversations on storytellers and storysellers. This is Vineet Kanabar saying goodbye.